Now, who's sleeping in here?
А вот здесь кто спал?
Кто здесь спал?
Здесь, конкретно здесь была раненая девочка.
There was a wounded girl who was here.
В спину ранение.
She was wounded in her back and in her chest.
Я поясню, мы сейчас находимся в подвале.
We are now in the basement of the hospital.
В этом подвале
In this basement, when there were fights in the city, there were civilians in this basement, wounded people, and the personnel of the hospital. They were all hiding in this basement.
Да, я думаю, что это вот представитель персонала
This woman
больницы.
is the representative of the staff of the hospital. So let's them introduce themselves and tell their story.
Я Василенко Валентина Кузьминична.
My name is Vasilenko Valentina Kuzminishna. I am a nurse in therapeutic department of this hospital.
Вот мы здесь находились после того, как нас
We were in this basement
еще у нас там подвал.
after we were moved from a different shelter, a different basement.
А когда уже
And
нацики зашли,
when the Nazis came here to the hospital,
нас перевели
we
в
were
этот
moved to this
Здесь
particular
находились
basement. So everybody was there. The patients
и мы, сотрудники,
and the employees of the hospital
и наше
and
руководство, и
our
врачи,
bosses
все.
and all the doctors. Everybody.
Сколько времени вы здесь находились?
Я находилась
How much time have you
вообще
spent here?
в этих 3,5 месяца.
3.5 months.
Wow.
Да.
In this-
24
In this basement?
Прям в
нас-
этом
у
подвале?
нас- а?
Прям в этом подвале 3,5
У
месяца.
нас подвал не только этот.
It's not just
Сначала
this
в одном
basement.
подвале я
At first she
находилась,
was in
потом
one
нас перевели
basement and
сюда.
then they were moved to this one, and all
Потому что
together
там
it was
то
3.5
помещение,
months
где мы
because the
были,
previous basement where they
нацики
were
зашли.
was taken by the Nazis.
И располагались,
And
били у нас, я в физкабинете работаю, там физкабинет.
I work here, so they were breaking the windows, they were putting their weapons there. Each one of them took like two. They were working in couples, and they were shooting back from the previous basement. I had no other place to be. My home is nearby, my flat is nearby, and it totally burned.
Сгорела в день рождения. Вот
It happened
вот
on
эти
my
ребята,
birthday. These guys,
которые наши сотрудники,
our
они меня
employees,
сюда пришли в этом подвале,
they
уже
brought me here,
поздравляли с днем рождения.
and they wished me a happy birthday when we were in this basement.
Они сначала хороший подарок
At
сделали,
first, they gave me a good present of 3 bottles of beer
No.
жакетку без рукавов,
and a very
и
nice
говорят,
jacket.
«Кузьмиша, мы тебя
And then
поздравили,
we say,
сделали
Kuzminishna, we
хорошее дело.
gave you this
А
present,
теперь мы
we
тебе скажем плохое.
congratulated you with your birthday, and that was the
Твоя
good part.
квартира сгорела».
And now we have the bad side, the bad news. Your flat burned.
Oh, gosh.
Вот. Вот,
Yeah.
я хотела выскочить, но меня главный врач
She
не
wanted to
выпустил
run out,
отсюда.
but the chief doctor did
День
not let her
рождения
out.
мой
So they
отметили день
celebrated
рождения.
her
Собрали
birthday this way.
всё, что было. И
We
больные
have
тут
collected
были,
everything. Our
ребята, и
patients
мы,
were
и
here,
доктора.
all the doctors were
Выпили
here, all the
шампанское.
guys were here. We had some
Пиво это
champagne and we
выпили.
drank this beer
Так
too.
у меня проходит
That's how I
рождение.
celebrated
А
my
теперь я
birthday.
хожу вот это
And
вот.
now this is what is on me, these clothes. It was granted to me by other
У
people
меня ничего нет.
because everything I had burned, nothing left except documents for the flat.
Now I want to make sure I want to just be absolutely clear to
Он
my
хотел бы
viewers back
сейчас
home.
еще раз прояснить
When you
для
say the
своих
Nazis, we're
зрителей,
speaking of
уточняющий вопрос для вас. Когда вы говорите «нацики»,
we're speaking about the
мы
Ukrainian
говорим
military. Yes.
вы называете так украинских военных,
Да.
правильно?
Да, так
Yes,
мы
this is
говорим.
absolutely correct. Correct. We call them
Ну,
Nazis.
здесь, извините, здесь
But, excuse me,
разговаривали
but-
люди не только украинской национальности.
They were not only Ukrainians
Mm.
on
Я
that side.
Who else was there?
Английский был.
There were people who
Грузины
spoke
были,
Georgian, there were people
Вот,
who
так что-
spoke English. They were not only Ukrainians here.
English. That's very interesting.
По-английски говорили. Это вот очень
Why?
интересно.
Да.
Were they fluent English speakers?
И они свободно говорили по-английски, как на родном языке?
Like, were they
Вы
people?
знаете, честно говоря, не могу сказать.
Well, I can't say for sure,
Произношение именно,
but
что
it sounded like it was their native language.
Mm-hmm.
Тогда не замечаешь. У нас расспрашивали и спрашивали, а вы номер танка запомнили?
They
Да
ask
какой
us questions
чёрт
like,
запоминал
have you,
танк?
maybe you remembered the plate number of a tank? Of course I don't know. It's that kind of detailed
Они у
question
нас-
that you ask
Они
now.
у меня
My subscribers back home, they're starting to understand that they're being lied to by our media.
правильно, они больше брешут.
That's true. There's a
Yeah.
lot of lies.
And one of my favorite questions I like to ask people that I speak to is, what message do you have for the American citizens that watch this?
Что бы я им сказала? Чтобы они не слушали это
Do
вранье, которое
not
им говорят.
Listen to the lies that you are told.
А пусть хотя бы приедут и посмотрят. Вы знаете, сколько у нас
It would be
было
best
здесь
to come here and to
делегаций?
see. If you only knew how many delegations we've had here.
Из Канады,
From
из Америки,
Canada, from America,
японцы, китайцы.
From Japan, from
Вот.
China,
Даже с нашего
even
Мурманска.
from Murmansk in Russia.
Вот. И фотографировали меня вместе.
They were
потому что
taking
просили,
pictures
на
of
фоне
me.
вашей квартиры сгоревшей, вы давайте вас сфотографируем.
They requested to take a picture of me with my burnt flat in the background.
И фотографии. Я сначала у китайца не поняла, что он спросил, а потом переводчик подошел и говорит... Ой,
At
ну,
first,
не
she
это,
didn't understand what it
сфотографируй.
was. Then it was
Ну,
explained to her by the
сфотографировать.
translator that it was requested.
А потом еще какой-то спрашивал меня, а в вашем городе есть песни? Я говорю, есть.
Someone else asked, are there any
А
songs
какие
about
это? Я
your
говорю, «Три». И
city?
как раз в это время у нас здесь в морге
And it was
лежала
then
моя подруга,
when
которая
her
написала 2
friend was
песни о
in the
Волновахе.
morgue here, dead, and she was the author of 2 songs about this town, Volnovakha.
И песню для меня написала на
And
мой
one of
язык.
those
Я
songs she
медицинская
wроte
сестра.
specifically
Они ко мне пристали,
for her.
«Спойте
The
хоть
song
один
was
куплет».
called
Я говорю,
I am a
«Чуть-чуть,
nurse,
спойте».
and
Ну,
they
пришлось
requested
петь.
her to sing, so she actually sang for them.
Спойлите нам немножко.
Would you sing for
О
us too?
сестре или о Волновахе?
сестре.
О сестре.
Или о Волновахе. Как
Ну, могу
Немножко.
один
Would you sing
куплет о
for us?
Волновахе, а второй это.
She said, I will
Есть
sing one.
город в Донбассе, но он небольшой, и люди живут в нем с открытой душой. Войдешь в каждый дом, будешь лаской согрет, и вам улыбнутся в ответ. И моя эта подруга, она погибла.
And this
Я
friend
шла
who wrote those
из
2
дома,
songs, she died.
Oh.
ходила, грабли брала и лопату. А мне тут зовут
I
Валя,
was on my
подойди,
way
Маши нет.
back
Я
from
подошла,
home when I was told that my
я
friend,
еще
her name
сама
was
себя
Masha,
даже не могла удержать,
and
я настолько
I was
рыдала.
told that she died. I was so
О ней память осталась.
upset. I was
Извините,
crying
пожалуйста,
non-stop.
если
These songs are the memory of her.
I'm sorry.
Да, я еще могу добавить. Меня зовут
I would like to add something.
Пригонюк Денис.
My name is Пригонюк Денис.
Ну, нас здесь находилось больше 300 человек.
There were more
только в
than
этой стороне
300
подвала.
people only in this side of
В
this
другой
basement.
стороне подвала
On the
еще
other side of this
находилось больше
basement,
4
there
человек.
were more than 400 people.
Да, это не считая эвакуации, ну, пока было это возможно.
And that was
Эвакуировали людей
when
на
it was possible. People were
территорию
evacuated into the
Хватает.
Ukrainian territory.
Mm-hmm.
всех раненых.
So all the wounded, everyone.
Ну, здесь дальше, ну, тут
Further
всех
on
спустили
there,
на тот момент,
we
когда
took
уже
everybody
начался
here
обстрел
when
сильный,
the
спустить всех
shelling
раненых,
was
когда осколочные.
exceptionally huge. We managed to bring all the wounded people
Успели
here.
принять 6 родов.
There were
Родилось 4
6
девочки и 2
children
мальчика.
that were born here during that time, 4 girls and 2 boys.
Ну, вот
as
так
well.
здесь же стояли.
So
Довелось нам всех
it
обеспечить
so happened that
светом.
we managed to provide
Пока у нас были
light,
свои
electricity.
генераторы,
when we-
когда мы
while we
успели,
still had
у нас
our
генератор
generators.
200 киловатт.
We had a generator for 200 kilowatts, so it was possible for us to actually give light to half a town.
Он был
But
уничтожен.
then they destroyed our generator.
Mm-hmm.
Мы уже по возможности,
And
у кого были
after that,
обычные генераторы,
whoever had
бензиновые,
the usual
маленькие,
gas
ставили на
generators, we
балкон,
were using them.
Mm-hmm.
ходили, искали бензин под
We
этими
walked around
обстрелами,
looking for
под
gas
этим,
under all this shelling,
чтобы обеспечить
just to
здесь
provide
мы могли.
electricity here.
Mm-hmm.
чтобы могли сварить, покушать. потому
just
что
to be able
было
to
много детей,
make some food
находилось.
here. We had so many children here at the time.
Когда они размещались здесь, мы все
When
просили их выйти
when we were
с
placed
этой
here, we
больницы,
asked them all
что
to
нельзя здесь размещаться,
let us out of the hospital because it's not possible
что
to
на
be
наши
here.
просьбы никто не
Nobody
реагировал.
reacted to these requests.
У нас есть приказ.
We have an order. That was the answer.
Ну, точно так мы поднимемся наверх, мы будем наблюдать, они знавшие, когда они отходили, мы будем видеть, где
So when we go up,
точки танков, где
we
стреляли.
will see. We will show you where the tanks were.
Он, развернувший башню, прямой наводкой,
One of those tanks, and it was a direct aimed shot,
выстреливал.
shot
У
there.
нас там дальше мы,
Further there.
там кирпичи повыпадали, хорошо, что
The
плиты
bricks are out of the
перекрытия
walls there. Luckily,
нас удержали,
the walls
спасли,
stood.
плиты перекрытия.
that was our luck.
У него не получилось
He-
с первого раза.
This tank failed
заехал
from
на
the first
лодку,
attempt. Then he went
выстрелил
up the little hill here
неврологическое отделение
and shot it again at the neurological department here.
и завалил все плиты перекрытия полностью, все
So
неврологии.
that whole part of the building collapsed as a result.
Судя по ихнему поведению,
According
мы могли
what we can
наблюдать,
judge from that behavior,
что они находятся или же в алкогольном,
we thought
или
that
же
maybe they are under
наркотическом
influence or
опьянении.
something, that they are drugged or they are drunk.
Потому что
Because
были такие моменты, что
There were things,
идешь
like,
за бензином,
for example, you would go out to try to find some
он
gas,
передергивает
for a
затвор,
generator,
направляет на тебя
and
и
they
стреляет
aim
тебе
at
под
you
ноги.
directly to shoot under your feet
Неосознанно,
without
не знаю, для
even
чего он
probably
это делал.
realizing why,
Чтобы
they were
мы не
doing it,
передвигались. А у
just
нас была
to
тут
stop our
заминирована
movement. Everything around here, the
Да.
whole territory was covered in
Хирургическое
mines.
отделение было заминировано.
The
Родильное отделение.
surgery was the department for surgeries was all mined. The department for deliveries was all mined.
Реанимация.
Rehabilitation and ER was also were also mined.
И тут точно так же,
So,
они некоторые
By mine, I mean there were mines there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
действия и некоторые
So those
действия,
actions
он мог пройтись и прострелить полностью одиночно
were
по всему
absolutely
первому этажу,
unreasonable. They would
каждое
walk
окно.
along the street along the first floor, right, and shoot into every window,
Хотя знал, что
knowing
нам надо
well that
передвигаться по
we
помещению,
have to move around the building as well.
оказывать и помощь,
We have to
оказывать
help
и
people.
еду,
We have to bring food. We have
доставлять в
to
другой подвал.
bring everything that is needed to the other side of the basement.
Ну, вот так вот мы пережили это
Well,
всё.
this is how we lived through it.
Did they ever give you any reason why they were just
Они хоть
arbitrarily shooting
как-нибудь
into the
объясняли,
buildings?
почему они вот так стреляли по зданию?
У них приказ.
No, all they said was that was our order.
Sick
Мне,
people.
например, этот
Больные.
танкист маленький сказал,
This little tank man
мы не можем
told to
удержать
me,
Волноваху.
we cannot hold
Бьем
Volnovakha,
всех,
so we
и
just
здания, и вас.
shoot everything. We shoot at buildings, we
Я
shoot
говорю,
at you.
«Сдурел ты».
So she said, you're crazy.
Так что канадские жители, пусть, пожалуйста, не думают о нас плохое.
So I would like
Если бы
to
они
tell
побывали хотя бы,
all of you,
может
people
быть,
from
секунду
Canada
тут,
or,
в
or
этом
from
кафе,
America,
в
don't
котором
think
мы,
bad about us.
что
If
они
you
могут
spent at
тогда
least
поверить
1
о том,
second
что нам
at our
приходится
place,
перенести. И
then you would
после
probably
этого
understand what we had to go through and how we had to live through it.
Thank you. I see here.
Ну, это мы
всё.
здесь же готовили.
Да, здесь
Девочки.
стоят
We were
печки.
cooking here.
Вот печка еще внизу стоит.
We also have an oven here nearby.
Сюда стягивали все лекарства, которые пооставались по аптекам.
All the medicines, all the drugs from all the drugstores were brought here.
Wait. Let me get this straight. You were grating cheese?
И вы сыр
Это у
натирали
нас-
на этой
Нет,
штуке? Сыр
это
натирали
для
на
И
этой
сыр, и морковку.
It's mostly cheese and carrots.
You must be an incredible chef.
Вы, наверное, классный повар.
Я? Нет, у меня дочка классная.
No, my daughter is an incredible chef.
But this is how they lived. This is how they lived for months. I can't even imagine.
А
Да, вот
это...
так вот доставали.
это
This is exactly how we lived.
Надо показать.
Так у нас вот там вот это было, ну там света.
Доставали из завалов,
У нас
побитые.
были
This
Ну да,
was
да, я помню.
ведра.
rice cookers.
Говорю, доставали из завала.
They found it under the rumble. They used everything, cleaned everything they could find to use for cooking. Now she wants to show where they
Let me
had
move the
toilet.
camera. Hold on.
Там света нету, но комната открыта.
There is no light there, but the room, this room is
This
open.
camera is incredible. In low light.
Если есть тебе чем присветить,
Я без этого, без телефона.
ну, у меня телефон, ты знаешь, у меня телефон воровали, а теперь у меня плохо светит.
Do you have a light on your phone?
Вот,
Just need a little.
вот это, Дим. Вот наш этот
I
туалет.
didn't. There we go.
Вот это
This
у нас
area
тут
was
туалет.
used for the toilet.
По очереди ходили на ведра.
We went there in turns and we were using buckets.
This is awful. It's terrible. It's terrible.
И вот бумага для мусора, вот это так. А потом, несмотря ни на что, что он заместитель главного врача.
And it didn't matter already what the ranks were, who was the chief doctor, who was the nurse. It didn't matter anymore. This was my bed. I was sleeping here.
Только, правда, еще немножко.
Unbelievable.
Оно все.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Вот.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have never met such strong people in my life until I got here.
Когда в жизни настолько сильных людей не встречал.
Ну что ж, если нам так приходится.
Well, sometimes you have to be strong.
Правда.
Вот. Вот видишь.
Да, только сидели друг на друге сначала.
То есть здесь
We're in the basement of this
Да,
hospital.
больше, ну, вообще больше 1000 человек находилось. Но мы
In total, if you count all
в связи с
together,
эвакуацией
there were
мы
even
не
more than
могли. В основном мы
1,000
хотели отправить
people.
детей.
First we wanted to let the children out and
Детей
send them
раненых,
into
в первую
evacuation.
очередь детей
Children and wounded, we wanted to evacuate them first.
раненых. А потом уже, когда
And
всё
then,
наладилось,
when
мы
everything
уже начали искать, у
turned
кого
to
есть
the better a little bit,
родственники,
we started to
знакомые
look for
в
the
любой стороне Российской
relatives,
Федерации.
for
Мы
friends, for acquaintances
через Донецк, через
everywhere in Russia,
Докучаевск, мы всех
through Donetsk
вывозили.
and through Dokuchaevsk. We were
Много человек. Сейчас начинаем
letting people out, letting them go out away. Now, bit by bit, they start to return.
Сейчас мы поднимемся наверх и посмотрим, где находились.
Now, let's go back upstairs and let me show you where they were shooting from,
Okay.
how they were shooting through the windows. The snipers were there, machine guns were there.
При нашей просьбе, ну, никто не реагировал.
Nobody reacted to any single request of ours. Our chief doctor and other people from our bosses, let's put it this way, they all went there, so with requests, but they were ignored. And
ребята, которые по 18-19 лет,
the thing is, those guys, they were 18, 19-year-old guys, those guys from the Ukrainian army, they were left here without any kind of command, without any kind of idea of what to do. So they were sitting here and crying. They were changing into any kind of clothes. Of course, we saw them, we saw their faces, we know their voices. Also, there were many girls among snipers who were here as well.
Female snipers?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Да. Вот так вот сейчас пройдемся, посмотрим комнату наркотиков, которая...
I also want to show you the room with the drugs. That was the first thing that they did when they entered the hospital. We had safes with the drugs. They could not really break through the door, so they went, they broke the bricks around the door to get in. They broke into the safes. According to the papers, because we had an account, there were more than 2,000 vials
Это все было изъято, и потом
with different drugs. Then they took it all.
Где они находились, а там были
They were using it. We saw syringes, we saw vials, all of that was laying everywhere on the floor.
Ну, пойдемте, пройдемте.
So let's show you.
Это вам самая большая конфета.
Oh, спасибо. The biggest sweet in the world is given to us now.
Sign. It says люди, дети.
This paper says people, children, civilians. This part of the building is in the same condition as it was, only it's cleaned a little bit. It's not renovated at all, so it is as it was during the fight.
Okay.
Здесь мы можем наблюдать, как прилетало.
A room full of women.
And they asked, yeah, it was a room full of women who asked not to film there.
Yes.
Ну вот, собственно,
Okay, so you see there is this door that they couldn't get through.
Yeah.
здесь находилось хранилище.
Behind this door was the storage of the drugs.
И
And in order to get there, they broke the bricks from the wall.
взломали. И изнутри уже
And then they opened it from the inside. They opened the safes that
Got
were
it.
behind that door in that room.
вот. И
And
мы можем дальше туда
when
пройти.
we continue going further,
Здесь вот перекрыли просто, там аварийно.
you will see you cannot go further that screen because it's not safe just yet. They haven't renovated it at all.
И складское помещение.
There was a warehouse there.
И в них были размещены, там это хирургические отходы.
Куда мы пойдем уже?
Это операционно.
Сюда.
Здесь мы тоже, ну, вот, одна из этих комнат.
So please have a look. That is one of the rooms.
Yeah.
Здесь размещался прям в этом окне и рядом.
The machine guns were here.
The what?
The machine guns were here.
И огонь велся прям.
And they were shooting from here.
Got it.
То есть это надо пояснить, что это нацисты здесь использовали помещение.
They would like to clarify that Nazis were using this hospital as the shooting point.
При том, что здесь внизу в подвале были живые люди.
And that was happening at the same time when all these civilians were in the basement of this building.
Да, там у нас все гаражи, там детская терапия.
So all the garages were there, and children's therapy department was there. It was the warmest and the newest building.
Отопление мы могли при минус 10.
So even when it was cold, like minus 10 Celsius, the children could be there for more than a month and would still be warm, still would have temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. And they burnt it first. They specifically burnt it from the inside. According to their words, they said, "Are you cold?" And it was at the time when it was snow in the street. They said, "Oh, you're cold, we're gonna bring you some warmth now." And then they burnt the place.
Fucking bastards.
Вот так вот. Сейчас мы пройдем теперь, где
Now let's show you the place where they shot from, where the tanks were shooting, knowing quite well that we were in the basements at that time, so that the building would collapse on top of us and we would die.
Да, это все остается как было. Тут
It all stays as it was.
навели порядок как можно, но это...
Just a little bit of cleanup was made here, but unfortunately this building is not to be renovated anymore. It will have to be demolished and rebuilt from scratch.
Который только зашел туда, расчесался, и тут же, закрывая дверь, 120-й прилетел прям туда.
This
Прям
was
в комнату разнес всё.
This was the room where... А что с доктором случилось? Он тоже умер? Или он успел убежать? Успел убежать. Okay, so this was the office where the doctor came in, just brushed his hair and ran away because they were shooting at it immediately. Luckily, not a single person died. When we were here, we were providing emergency care for everyone.
А здесь мы можем видеть дальше. А было все вот так вот.
This is how it all was, like here. The whole building was like that.
Oh, yeah.
Там большая дыра.
This huge hole in the corner, from the corner.
Это при отступлении.
When they were retreating,
Украинские танкисты,
the Ukrainian tanks
они стреляли вот оттуда.
shot from that direction. So you see, it was basically a direct shot into this building because they had an order to destroy the building of the hospital and to destroy all people who were inside.
И они стреляли, просто забрались на прибор.
So they went there up the hill. At first he was standing here, then he shot into the ER department, right into the window. The missile went through 2 walls and hit the ward, one of the wards there, and the whole ward was destroyed immediately. He couldn't, for some reason, he couldn't shoot further up, so he went up the hill.
Because the tank.
Yes, and then shot again. You can see the result of it here. This church, which is located right here next to us, that was protecting us. You can see that they were shooting at this church as well. They wanted to shoot the crosses away from the top of those churches for the only reason that this church belonged to Moscow Patriarchy.
One of the questions I know I'm going to get on my channel is Ukrainians were shooting in after they had occupied this building. Were they shooting in because maybe the Russian military came and then the Russian military was hiding here? Or they were just shooting because they wanted to shoot?
There were never any Russian military in this building ever.
No Russian military, no Donets. No? So,
Not a single military from Russia or from Donetsk People's Republic, not a single military person. Only civilians were in this building. We asked them to leave the territory of the hospital. We asked them not to place themselves here, and their answer was, we have an order to be in this very building. They were using us as shields. Maybe they thought that this way the Allied forces, so DPR and Russian forces, will not shoot here, knowing that there are so many civilians in this place. He knows that also that among this Ukrainian soldiers, there were very young people, like you said, 18, 19 years of age, who had no idea what to do. They were crying. They were left without command.
У них нет, они поняли то, что Они не нужны никому, они на тот момент
He thinks that
брошены.
they were crying because they understood that nobody actually needed them. They were cut from any communications. They were basically left behind here.
За них никто не подумал на тот
Nobody thought about them or cared about them at that time. The chief commandment retreated sometime earlier than that, for sure, he says.
А молодых они
And
оставили.
they just left them behind here.
And they were telling me that there were a lot of these ampules.
Ну, это не те ампулы, это ампулы просто лекарства. Это просто лекарства.
These are vials from different drugs, actually, but the similar ones. He just looked at them and he remembered this detail, which he thinks is important to share with you.
Поликлиники приемного покоя.
In the other building of this hospital, this building doesn't exist anymore. It had to be completely demolished.
На одной из огневых точек, видимо, там
At one of the positions where the machine guns were,
новый гильз.
we found a lot of shelling,
И
and also we found a lot of syringes on the floor
было очень много
and a lot of vials
ампул опиума, ну, опиатов, то есть, ну,
marked pramidol, which means that the active ingredient is opium
и адреналин.
and adrenaline.
То есть вот на таком коктейле они
So this was the cocktail that they used, and this was what was in their blood when they were fighting here.
подключал мозг,
So this was the combination of drugs that basically shut their brain off.
человек становился бесстрашным,
The person lost any fear, he truly became fearless and didn't feel much pain.
и при этом на адреналине
And
все возможные
on
резервы
adrenaline,
сразу
all the reserves of the body would be activated.
Ну, то есть как какие-то биороботы.
So they were like biorobots of some sort.
То есть
With those drugs in their
человеком
system,
их назвать нельзя.
it's difficult to say that they were truly human at the time.
Yeah, well, drugs certainly have that kind of effect. So, thank you.
Пожалуй, все.